Are you good on time?
Yeah, let me just do this one last thing, and then I can cut out, I think, because we have an update on the reopening of the community center park, and I just want to thank all the folks, like Terry, who went out there last weekend and planted natives in the garden. So we had a nice group of Mountain Watch folks that were there, and I worked on with Dan, the double Dans, Dan Carter and Dan Sorrentino, to build the tables, picnic tables that the city had ordered. And so, now the park is complete, and we just have to
Turn the water
I think
on.
the water is on.
Oh.
We've got a nice drip irrigation system in place. So now we just have to kind of coordinate having, I think, a ceremony to open up the park and celebrate.
Looks real nice, Cliff. Thank you for your dedication to driving that. What's your next project?
So.
Hey, Clay's biting his lip like, oh, no more, no. No, that was good, and that really stemmed out of the what is it? Building community.
Rebuilding together.
Rebuilding together. Yeah. Very good. So we're done now. And so on here it says to be determined upon completion date. And so does staff have any recommendations of dates? Oh.
February 1st is a proposed date for the other things. I don't know. Now I'm looking at my calendar.
And that's a Saturday?
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and today's the 13th. Do you want to do events back to back, one on the 1st, one on the 8th, or?
I will be out of town that second week of February.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of integral that you're
I
there.
think it's better
But,
if you're there.
The last weekend in January, I'm available.
January or February?
In January, if you want.
That's the 25th.
Yeah, but we have a conflict that weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do the 15th, right?
How about after our council goal-setting workshop, do it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
22nd?
Sure. That could work.
Yeah,
We'll all be in a happy mood.
sure we will.
I was going to say only if we're christening it with a bottle of good champagne.
That's true. Huh?
I can arrange that.
Terry's volunteering to bring in the champagne, sounds like, okay. Anybody want to second that? No, okay. All right, so how about 1 o'clock, February 22nd? Then?
Okay.
Okay. All right. You want to jump back to where we were? To written communications. Council of Cities, we had a couple of inquiries on ABAG position. One from Dr. Gupta, Pradeep Gupta from South San Francisco, and one from Wayne Lee of Millbrae. I have some thoughts on it. This is for the ABAG representation, and right now we had 2 council members from South San Francisco. Before, I think it was Rich Garbarino and Pedro Gonzalez. And Pedro retired from the council, and Dr. Gupta has taken his place, but it seems that I would prefer some diversification and would want to support Wayne Lee for that. I just don't think it's great practice to have all your representation from one city. I just prefer to spread it out a bit. Be welcome your thoughts. I'm not married to the idea. It's just I think it's a good idea.
Well, before I leave, this will be the last thing that I work on. But I did talk with Pradeep about it. He called me up and Lori and I were at a Sierra Club meeting last night, and Pradeep was there, and we talked a little bit more about the position. I mean, I think he would be a good candidate for it. I also know Wayne, but Wayne hasn't reached out to me. So,
He reached out to me.
did he reach out to
Yeah.
you? Okay, but yeah. So yeah. I mean, I can go either way, but I think Pradeep is. I think he's a serious person, and I think he would represent our interests well at ABAG.
You have concerns about the representation being all from one city?
I don't. You know, I think it's the individual that makes the difference.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I do acknowledge your concern about that. So, I mean, I'm neutral, really.
Okay. Lori?
I think that you bring up a good point. I've met Pradeep. I don't think I've met Wayne. And is there still an opportunity for other people to apply for this position, or is it now closed?
I believe there is. I believe it's still.
Okay, so it seems to me that it's maybe premature, because if someone else applies from another city,
Yeah.
when do we have to make
We always give the mayor discretion.
Okay, and is this our last opportunity?
This will be our last meeting.
our last
the
meeting.
24th.
Yeah.
Why? I give you discretion.
Ray, what's your thought?
Generally speaking, I would go along with your principle if you don't want all your eggs in one basket. On the other hand, it is South City, and we don't want to get in any trouble with them, and they're our neighbor. So I'm kind of like Cliff, I think both, I have met both of them, and I think they're both fine. In terms of the politics for us, I don't know. Maybe it might be better to not oppose somebody from South City. I mean, I'm just thinking politically. That's what these are all about, right? Yeah. So anyway, that's the only thought I have.
Okay.
I'm happy to let you do whatever you think is best under the circumstances.
Okay. Terry?
I'll see you guys.
Okay.
I really can't say I have an opinion one way or another. I do want to work well with our neighbors, but I think whoever would have our best interests or the most similar interests, or could be persuaded to become our interests, would be the one to go for, and I'll leave that in your capable hands.
Well, you guys.
So you got a good wishy-washy group here.
Totally. I guess it's up to the mayor's discretion. Huh? I'll bring my lucky coin. No, I understand what you're saying too. But knowing, I've served on boards with both Dr. Gupta and Wayne Lee, and I find both very interesting individuals in their own right, and articulate, and that. But I don't find Dr. Gupta the type to hold animosity over not getting picked. And I know these are kind of political things. He just doesn't seem that type of person. So I don't really have that concern, and since we have strong representation from South San Francisco in the ABAG already with Rich Garbarino, I would prefer to kind of spread it out, and I think it's just good practice to do that. And of course they got strong representation in the state legislature too, with our representative, and I know you think politically that way too.
Right.
But yeah, I just don't share that concern of being pushed into a vote of wanting to support somebody to stack the deck and A-bag from one city because they're our closest neighbor. So if you're allowing that discretion, I would support Wayne.
I
Okay.
think that's good.
Okay. Into the hour. God. All right. Discuss planning the recognition of the Bayland Citizens Committee. Ready?
Well, I know about it, but I think it should come from either Sherry or Clay.
Well, as you all know, the Baylands Citizens Committee has been working extremely hard over the last several months and deserve a great recognition. And I guess I'd talked to Councilmember Miller about ideas of how we might do that, and I wanted you all to discuss. Our idea could be to do it at the next council meeting, February 3rd, in the beginning, and then maybe take a little break for some cake and coffee. And the chairwoman, Anya Miller, has given me a list of the different levels of participation that we could. So there's 3 core members the executive committee, who worked extremely hard. So we could maybe on the certificates we give them, put their, identify what everybody's done and what their roles are. So actually just wanting to get your direction on what you think we should do if it's different than that. So.
Well, let me ask this: would February 3rd be too soon? Because the comments are due when, the 24th of January. I mean, wouldn't we want to kind of like
Let the dust settle.
put it out a little bit, huh?
Let the dust settle a little.
Yeah,
Let
maybe
them have a break for a
maybe they're
minute.
sick of hearing from the city councils. Like, you know what I'm saying? Is yeah, kind of give them a little bit of time, and then come back where it might be a little bit more meaningful, maybe in March. The first meeting of March. Does that sound reasonable? We only have one meeting in February, and I'm not sure what we're looking at putting on it, or at least on our schedule here. Maybe one potential meeting we might have to. So
That sounds fine to me. If
yeah, okay. But the idea is great, and I know certainly we have some committees and commissions too. They're going to be pounding on that. Of course, the Open Space and Ecology Committee is putting a monumental effort in it also. So we might want to be inclusive of them also in this. Or I'm not sure what your thought is on that, Ray. If that's or anybody else, we might want to think about.
I think they're a different category, but they ought to be recognized too.
Yeah. But I mean, if we're going to do it kind of it's more of a celebratory thank you recognition type thing, and this was kind of a very large effort that all of them put forth. So anyway, okay. March 3rd. Okay, set dates for upcoming reopening dedications. And Community Day at the fire station, that's February 1st. That's, so would coincide, what would you, ladder drop or something? Tie one of those beer kegs between 2 telephone poles and get one fire hose on one side, one on the other, and have a tug-of-war contest,
You're talking about the ribbon cutting, or what?
Yeah, the ribbon cutting.
Yeah. Well,
I saw that one time. I went to, back east, and this little city, it was called Bay Cities, Wisconsin, and they had the town of 500. It was right on the Mississippi River, and they had a parade. There's 500 people, and everybody was in the parade, except for those people like myself who stumbled upon it. And all the fire departments back there are volunteer, and so one of the big things that they had, this of course being in the summer, was they put up 2 telephone poles on a cable and hung a beer keg on it, and then they'd have contests with the volunteer fire departments on spraying the hose and hitting the beer keg. It was like a tug of war until one of them won. Of course, the water would spray the crowd, and then they would cool off. So it was.
Might not be a very good.
In the middle of a drought, it may not be a great idea.
And in the middle of winter, it may not be a good idea here in Brisbane.
Okay, it's getting late in the hour.
Yeah, it is.
Starting to sound like Gary Rogers. Okay. All right. So February 1st, what time?
We'll work on that, and we'll work on coordinating the 2 events together.
Okay.
Figure out what we're going to do.
All right. And zip card ribbon cutting, same day, huh?
Yeah.
We were just talking. You thought in conjunction, since you have people out, maybe we would just park the cars and advertise that.
Zip car?
Yeah.
A way to get people out.
Unless it's rented.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we'd have to work on coordinating something around that. So.
We'll get one of them out.
It's not scheduled to rain that day, is it?
Not scheduled to rain ever again.
Kind of looks like it, nice weather, but it's getting kind of scary. Okay, item E, review of upcoming council meeting schedule and.
Yeah, at the risk of, I guess, trying to be consistent here, we have a meeting scheduled for February 3rd. We had a request, I guess, from one council member to cancel the second meeting. We've also had in the past, council members have indicated they wouldn't be available at council meetings, and we went ahead and held the council meetings. So I just want to be, I guess, consistent in terms of how we approach this. It's obviously up to the council which way you want to handle it, and I'm fine either way. But just, in terms of how it's approached.
So, we all love meetings. That's why we took this job, right? No. What does our workload look like coming down the pike here?
Well, I asked the staff if we only had one meeting in February, and the major issue, which is one I think the subcommittee we're already kind of working our way through, and that is the extension or the renewal of the waste franchise agreements. And so what we're most likely going to be doing is coming to you on the February 3rd meeting to do a 90-day extension of those, or I guess probably 120-day extension. We're thinking now maybe to the end of June. So that's the only time critical item that I have. And again, as we always do these things, if there's enough lead time ahead, which there is now, we have 3 weeks between the February 3rd meeting, we have time to plan and make sure that anything that we need to get on the agenda we can, and then we could wait until March for the next meeting. So from a management of the agenda, we could make that work if that's what you want to do.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Of canceling that February 18th, that would actually be preferable for me because I'll be returning the night before from vacation. So,
Okay, Barry?
Yeah.
Good with that?
The only other item, and it hasn't been scheduled already, but the A. Thomas appeal, that's going to have to, we were thinking February potentially for that, so that'll slip to
March. Okay.
And
All right.
I did want to point out the July 7th meeting is scheduled for the Monday after the long July 4th weekend. The 4th is on a Friday. So I don't know if that's an issue, if anyone has plans to
Well,
go away.
past few years, I
that
think
work?
we actually canceled July.
We
didn't cancel July.
Well,
We
actually-
canceled meetings in July.
Well, actually, yeah, we used to cancel August, and then
We used to cancel August.
We moved it to July, so
It sort of depends on our respective vacation schedules.
Yeah.
yeah.
Usually what we do is that I try to get a sense of vacation schedules sometime in the spring.
Right.
And then we try to figure out a calendar around that.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Who takes
I don't
vac-
usually vacation in the summer.
Yeah,
But
and Terry's usually in September, so.
yes, I'm
always a
usually in the
challenge.
fall. So, but
I don't know what a vacation is, so hope you enjoy them.
well, I don't
anyway,
have one
you-
planned this year. So
Probably a good point. I doubt that July 7th, even if we met in July, I doubt that that's a date that we would meet on.
Okay.
Right.
So we'll just go ahead and scratch that one for general
Sure.
purposes, right?
and then either my calendar's wrong or my brain is messed up last night. But isn't March 17th President's Day?
Right.
March 17th or February 17th?
No, March 17th is
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, but February 17th is the holiday for the.
Okay.
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day should be a holiday.
It should be, I agree.
Okay.
What did I have? I didn't think my Google Calendar put St. Patrick's Day on. There was something I was looking at.
Yeah, you got the Irish calendar.
Yeah, that could be.
Not that your name is Irish or anything.
No.
No.
But as my husband always points out, I married that name.
Okay. So, anything else?
So, well, you might want to say what the point of the 22nd of February is.
Yeah. So that we were going to get into that conversation. So the 22nd, the idea was to do, I've got goal setting here. I'm not sure that's necessarily the right term, but basically the annual opportunity to kind of get together in a non-council meeting to kind of discuss the issues that are coming up for the next year and talk a little bit around the priorities. So the things that we definitely would probably want to talk about that day, and the idea is to do a 9 to noon session on a Saturday morning. Is the now that we're at the end of the comment period on the EIR, what are the next steps going to be? And there's a council subcommittee that's reviewing that. I've had conversations with the city attorney that the kind of the white paper that we're working on will be of such a nature that it can be presented in an open session for discussion. So that would be probably a good piece of the day. Just kind of talking through what are the next steps and how the council wants to, because there'll be a couple of different options for the council to consider. I kind of look at it as kind of like a decision tree. So you'll have an opportunity to have that discussion. The other part of it, I've indicated to you that I'm kind of reworking the work plan. So I'd like to present that to you, and then I'll be talking with Stuart about whether or not we're ready to bring the mid-year budget numbers to you. That's usually, I think, informative in terms of looking at your next year, although I don't think at the moment we anticipate anything that's alarming or going to send us off in a different direction, but it's always kind of good to look at that time. So at least those three things I'm thinking are part of the day, and that's probably quite a bit for not 3 hours.
Okay. Very good.
And then I'll work with the mayor and probably the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem as we sat and talked the other night in terms of putting together an agenda for that morning.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. That brings us to oral communications 2. Adjourn to a successor agency meeting.
With a short break.
Short break. Okay. All right.